Welcome back to another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, the podcast where two guys just watch a lot of movies and then talk about them because you guess you need more of our opinions on that. And with me, as always, is the wonderful, the incredible, the Dominic Toretto to my Luke Hobbs, Kyle Mulford. How you doing, Kyle?
Well, someone's been watching more Fast and Furious, haven't they?
Yes, I have, and they're great.
Indeed. No, I'm
This is,
doing all right.
this is one of our sub-episodes called We Don't Know What to Watch, where we just talk about all the movies we've been watching recently. So, Kyle, you want me to go first, or you want to go first?
Go for it. Let us
Okay.
know all the Fast and Furious movies you've been watching.
All right. Well, first I watched Fate of the Furious, which is so much fun. At this point, they're pretty much James Bond movies, and I'm here for it.
Yes.
They're big, they're over the top, they're silly, and I love it so much. And this one had Dwayne The Rock Johnson just making fun of, Jason Statham, and then just going back and forth against each other, but then having to work together with the rest of the team. And yeah, definitely recommend it if you like this series. I get it. I get why people really like it. It's great.
I'm due to maybe run through that series again.
I'd probably just, if I had to watch them again, I'd probably just start with 5.
Yeah, that's true. It's once you've seen the really crazy later ones, sometimes it's hard to go back to the. Although I'll still always like Fast and Furious 1, aka Point Break remake.
Yeah. All right. Next, I watched Save the Green Planet, which is a South Korean kind of comedy sci-fi film about a guy who's convinced that there's aliens, and he's got like sort of the tinfoil hat and weird thing. Him and his girlfriend, they kidnap some sort of high-ranking corporate official, and they try and like, all right, we know you're an alien, then try and almost do things to get rid of him, try and torture him to get information, tell us about the aliens, everything's right. And then also there's like cops that are trying to figure out what happened to this guy. It's funny, but it's also kind of dark. A couple of good twists in there. Sort of continuing my series of South Korean films. It's just a pretty good one.
Awesome. I'm going to
Ne-
apologize right now for anybody listening. It sounds like water is running, and it is. That's coming from upstairs, and you just hear it in our walls in our house.
I'm disappointed, sir.
Not much I can do about it.
Next, I watched Crying Fist, which was another South Korean film. This one is almost a bit of an underdog, kind of Rocky type story. An older fighter who was like a silver medalist at one point in in the Southeast Asian Games, and then now he's just kind of fallen on hard luck has a tough relationship with his wife, tough relationship with his kid, and what he does is like he basically wanders around like the city center saying, "All right, like pay me $20 and you can beat me up or something. Get out your aggression by beating me up." And as he slowly hits rock bottom, then he has to work his way up and go back, hit the gym, and become a legitimate boxer once again.
Nice.
Next, I watched Times Square, which is made in 1980. So this was when Times Square was very different from what it is like today.
Yeah.
Yeah, very seedy, a lot of porn everywhere. Back in the good old days, I suppose.
I gotta love when there's lots of porn.
hmm And this one is about sort of these two young girls, kind of from different walks of life, and they get together and sort of run around Times Square trying to escape from their family, doing fun, crazy stuff, trying to prove that, yeah, we're cool, we're punk, we're out to get the man, we're singing cool music and stuff. And then one person's kind of following their exploits and their adventures is this late night radio DJ from a Times Square station played by Tim Curry. So that was the reason I watched the movie.
Oh, nice. I mean, he's always a good reason to watch a movie, right?
Yes. Tim Curry, radio DJ, was pretty good.
Sweet.
Next, I watched The Canterville Ghost, which is from 1946, I believe, starring Charles Lawton, and how back in medieval times he was part of this, like a prince among this castle, and then, oh no, he ended up doing something cowardly instead of standing up for his brother's honor and fighting like a big scary guy. So then he was cursed to become a ghost, and the only way for him to break the curse is if one of his descendants later in life does something, heroic instead of being cowardly. Cut to like 400 some years later in World War II, the person who now owns the castle is now like an 8-year-old girl, and then she decides to do a good thing and house American GIs in World War II. And then one of the American GIs happens to be a descendant of this ghost. And Charles Laughton plays a ghost, so it's fun. A lot of good interplay. Some good, fun, vintage special effects, especially for the time. How, like, first he tries to scare them, then they're scared. Then after a while, the GIs turn around and scare him. It's pretty good. Very fun, family-friendly kind of good movie to watch. Good kind of ghost movie to watch with your kids. Very much closer in style with, like, Abbott and Costello.
Oh, cool.
Next, I watched The Odd Couple, the classic Odd Couple with Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon. Never seen it before, but man,
That's
those
good.
two, they work so well together, and they're just having so much fun, and it just, the audience has so much fun too, and just even all the other side characters are pretty goofy too.
Yeah, that's a fun movie for sure. And they worked well together for years. Went on to do the Grumpy Old Men series.
And apparently there was an Odd Couple too. It's supposed to, and I thought it was okay.
All right.
Next is Winchester 73 from 1950 with Jimmy Stewart, where he plays a lawman who wins a rifle in like the shooting contest. Then it gets stolen by an outlaw and he has to go track it back. It's fun, really slick, only 90 minutes, and it's fun to see Jimmy Stewart in sort of a straight-laced Western hero role, which you don't see him that often in.
Yeah, and he did a few westerns, but yeah, I don't know if he was that kind of character always. But
Then I watched Dhoom 3, the third in the Bollywood series of Dhoom movies, spelled Dhoom.
now
And this
after
was,
seeing all three, do I need to go and watch all three?
I think so. I think you'd have a good time with them. Yeah, I mean they're Bollywood mixed with Fast and the Furious, and this one takes place in Chicago about like how this and the thief that our two Jai and Ali, our two super cops, are going after is this like thief who's also like a cool circus guy. So think kind of like a Cirque du Soleil, maybe mixed with a little like Chris Angel Mind Freak sort of thing.
That sounds
Also,
amazing.
also there's a tap number at the beginning, so I'm all in for a good tap number.
Those sound bonkers.
They're so much fun. I really enjoy them. Next, I watched Mary Andrew, which is sort of a light and breezy Danny Kaye musical where he plays a British school teacher who ends up kind of falling in love with a woman and accidentally joining the circus,
Like you do.
as you do. It's fun. Some good circus acts here. It's an Italian circus, so they have very broad accents, but that's always good too. And, there's a chimp. Everyone loves a chimp.
For sure.
And lastly, I watched Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw, and this was just so great. I thought they definitely played off each other extremely well. And the plot doesn't matter. You're there for like the fun action scenes and the fun dialogue.
It doesn't matter what your plot is. Yeah, it was there was something about it I just didn't click as well as the other actual Fast and Furious movies for me for some reason, but there was a lot that I still enjoyed, like that the whole car chase where like there's several cars hanging from a helicopter over the
Yeah,
cliff. It's just crazy.
the part where like the bad guys are scaling down a building and the Rock just jumps, it just falls on him.
Oh yeah, and is this the one that has? Yeah, this is the one that has like the elevator. Where is that the scene where Jason Statham's in
Yeah,
the elevator and the Rock is like swinging all over people on there?
yeah.
That is such a great scene. Just their interaction too, without like being able to talk to each other because he's in a glass elevator.
Idris Elba is fun as the sort of like this Terminator type bad guy too. So,
Yeah, Idris Elba's always cool.
hmm
Can he be anything other than cool?
I don't think so.
Like even when he's bad guys, it's like he's cool.
He's a cool bad guy.
I've been watching The Wire on HBO Max
Nice.
because I had never seen that series, and that must have been an early role for Idris Elba
Yeah, pretty
before he became big. Because I want to say it was before Luther, wasn't it? So,
Yeah, I think it was before Luther by at least a few
but
years.
but he's like the right hand man to the head honcho drug guy, and I'm just like, Idris Elba, you're so freaking cool. So what's next on there?
That's all of them. I said pretty short for me today this time.
Oh, all right. I had a few more than that. I got some interesting stuff on here. First of all, we're into November, December. So we're hitting holiday season here, and family movie night. We watched Miracle on 34th Street, the
With
1947 black and
nice,
white.
nice.
We have that one on DVD. We a couple of years ago we went out and around the holiday season and just bought up like every Christmas movie.
Nice.
So that one's such a good movie, and if you haven't seen it, really watch it around Christmas time. It's wonderful. And then I watched on Amazon Prime the 1981 film Knightriders from George A. Romero, and this is my first Romero non-zombie movie that I've ever seen.
And does this have David Hasselhoff in it?
No, it doesn't.
Then
But I
what's
think it
the
came.
point?
I think it was around the same time. So there was some sort of issue with the titling too. But no, this one had Ed Harris, a young Ed Harris in it.
Nice.
And it's about these Renaissance fair guys that kind of travel around and do shows like on the outskirts of town, and they do all their jousting and stuff on motorcycles.
Nice.
And some of the like motorcycle stunts, like clashing and everything, and all the crashes is pretty crazy. And Ed Harris is he's the king, so like and they do jousting and stuff to see if anybody can dethrone the king or whatever, and that's how but he takes it pretty seriously, and then some of the others veer off. It's about like this group that kind of bonds over this, but they're not making a lot of money. So then some agent comes in and says, "Hey, we'll take some of you guys here," and some of them want to stay true to their roots, and then the others go off and do that. And it's kind of it's a really interesting movie, though. Actually, it's a little long, but it's kind of a cool little movie.
Hate to interrupt you, but I think you have at least seen one other type of George Romero movie because you've seen Creepshow, right? We've done Creepshow.
Oh yes, that's true. I have. So yep, you're right. You're right. We did a whole podcast on that movie. Also on Amazon Prime, I watched a 1998 flick called The Big Hit with Mark Wahlberg and Lou Diamond Phillips.
Nice.
This is such a it feels like such a 90s, almost like it feels like a straight to video movie, like action movie. It's
nice.
Mark Wahlberg and Lou Diamond Phillips and two others. I can't remember what the other two actors were. These four hit guys. Well, Mark Wahlberg is the main guy, and he's a hitman, but he's also someone who doesn't like to make other people disappointed. So the other hitmen are like just taking advantage of him all the time, and then they end up taking more of the cut because they're like, "Well, no, I totally got that guy." It's like, "Oh, you're right, you did. Here's your money." But then he gets framed because they like kidnap they do a kidnapping instead of a hit to make some more money on the side, and then they try and frame Mark Wahlberg since he's like the nice guy who'll take this. But some of the action is at the beginning of the movie is so 90s. It's that very slow, blurry, and they're like when they get hit, they fly up in the air just like 10, 15 feet up in the air and cross the room, and
nice.
they're doing the flips and everything. It's crazy. Oh, but then next thing I watched was on HBO Max, 1981 Endless Love, and this one has the distinction of being Tom Cruise's first film.
Isn't he just like a random background character?
He's in it for approximately like 30 seconds to 2 minutes, somewhere in that range. However, his dialogue in it is a key element to the plot of the main character. So he at least influences a decision the main character makes. This is a weird movie. It's like these two teenagers in love, and what's her face, Brooke Shields, and I can't remember who played the boy, but they just have like this really good relationship. And I was reading a lot of stuff about the book where it was like more of a one-way street. Like the guy liked the girl, but she didn't like him back. Mm-hmm. Well, they both loved each other in this movie. So it was weird because then the parents are like, no, we don't like this boy. And then he does something stupid and sets the house on fire.
As you do.
And so then there's a restraining order, and then there's this whole him trying to get back with her and all this stuff. It's kind of a weird movie, and I was a little. I hope that there was a body double for Brooke Shields, because she was only like 16 or 17 when this was filmed.
There was, from what I understand. So.
Okay, that's good, because I was like, oh, that's creepy if that's her. I don't know if I should be watching this. But you could tell it had to have been, though, because they didn't show the face when they showed the breasts. So I was like, that's good, but you're still putting nudity up there and saying this is a teenager. So I'm like, that's kind of weird to be doing
Still
nudity.
creepy.
It's still a little creepy to be doing nudity like that. But it was a weird movie anyway. It's just one of those I always wanted to see, just because that song came from it, and then Tom Cruise's first movie. But I don't know if I'd totally recommend it. It was all right, whatever. One that I would recommend, though, I watched on Amazon Prime, 1985 film Phenomena. Phenomena.
Nice.
No, this is a oh, now I'm gonna get it mixed up. Is it Fulci? No.
Argento?
It might be Argento. Yes, I think it's Argento. I think it's Dario Argento. Yes, it is, because he's the one who did Suspiria.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a 85 Argento film, and this movie is batshit crazy, and I loved it. And it is the first. It's not Jennifer Connelly's first movie. It's her first starring role. I think she was in a bit part in a movie before this one, but this is her first starring role as a teenager. And she is going to this school for girls, and what is it with Dario Argento in School for Girls? I don't know. That's starting to feel a little creepy to me. But she's got like these psychic powers where she can talk to bugs and communicate with. Well, she communicates with bugs, and then there's murders going on at the around the school. And then she meets an entomologist played by Donald Pleasant, who is in a wheelchair and has a Scottish.
Blood?
What's that?
There's pig's blood at the prom, or
no, he's
Travolta.
No, there's no John Travolta, but there is Donald Pleasance with a Scottish accent in a wheelchair, and he's got. Speaking of everybody loves chimps, he's got a monkey.
Yes,
and this is crazy too. Is like. What I've heard is in this movie, 90% of what you see is actually, this is 1985, so you don't get CGI monkeys. You don't get, what's his face in mocap. You know what I'm talking about. Andy Serkis. So like most of these scenes are actually the monkey doing these complex actions. And there are scenes where it's like, they don't cut, and they're pointing at something, and the monkey has to go get this thing, bring it back, and knows exactly what to bring. And then there's a scene where the monkey rips the door off of the house to save Donald Pleasance, and that's all real. And apparently, at the end of the there's a scene at the end of the movie where I was listening to a podcast about this, and that's what prompted me to watch it. And they were talking about how Jennifer Connelly got her finger like bit off, and they had to reattach it.
Oh,
so she doesn't talk about this movie in interviews and stuff. Because she's also falls into like this pit full of water and maggots and dead bodies too in it, and just
gross.
But no, this movie is so crazy, and I highly recommend it. Another recommendation on Netflix, I watched Fargo from 1996.
Nice.
I haven't seen this movie probably since I was in college, which, if you're keeping score, was a long time ago. This is just a fun movie. So good. And Frances McDormand is absolutely wonderful in this film. Like, just this cheery cop having to deal with all this garbage, and then Steve Buscemi and who is
Peter Stormare.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stormare.
As the two guys who kidnap William H. Macy's wife, and
William H. Macy is great in it too. And just
yeah, he is. He's so neurotic and like paranoid about everything that's going on. the scene with him and Frances McDormand where she's like talking to him in the.
I'm trying to help you here, lady.
Yeah, I'm helping you. I'm cooperating here. we don't have any missing cars from this lot. But no, that's such a fun movie. That was a good one to revisit. Another revisit that I highly recommend on HBO Max. I watched Ball of Fire from 1941 with Gary Cooper and Barbara Stanwyck, and I think it was Cooper. Yeah, I believe it was Gary Cooper. He's this bookish nerd, and him and a bunch of older professors are working on an encyclopedia. So they haven't like really left their building other than to do research for like 9 years. So like none of them know how to talk to women, but then they find out like they've been working on this for so long that slang words have evolved, and they're on the S in the encyclopedia, and he's working on slang words, and he's like, oh, I've got to go out and like talk to real people and figure this out. And well, in a club, he runs into Stanwyck, and she's a singer at a nightclub, and she's dating a gangster played by Dana Andrews. And then she ends up having to hide from the cops, and she hides with all of the old professors, and it's just a really sweet movie, and
That sounds fun.
It is so much fun, and I highly, highly recommend that one. And then I watched on Amazon Prime another 1981 film, The Decline of Western Civilization. It's a documentary.
I've seen this. Yeah, it's a good one.
This was interesting because I found it fascinating to take a look at these punk bands from like, it was like 79 and 80 when it was filmed. And other than Black Flag, I hadn't even heard of any of these bands. And the thing is I didn't understand what they were going for with this, because it basically just looked like they were showing a bunch of punk rockers and their followers who are all a bunch of drunks and
they like to party.
And I'm going, I don't feel like this served much of a purpose, but it was but maybe that was the case. It was just an interesting look into this kind of subculture.
Yeah, and it's definitely, I think, it's definitely more of a kind of a slice of life kind of thing. Like, all right, this is just kind of this subculture that exists in Los Angeles at the time, and here are some of these groups, and here are some of the performers, and here are some of the people that enjoy this type of music.
Yeah, so I'm definitely interested in watching the second and third ones.
I know the second one takes place like years later in the late 80s.
Yeah, with the metal years, I think it's called. And then I can't remember what the third one focuses on, but yeah, it was interesting. It reaffirmed that like straight up punk, where they just like are screaming really fast in the mic and like it's just loud and obnoxious music to me. It's not my kind of music, but it was a very interesting documentary.
You want those damn kids to get off your lawn, right?
I do, but if you're interested in that kind of music, it is a fascinating look into that subculture in the early 80s, late 70s. Then on Netflix, I watched the Christmas Chronicles from 2018 with what's his face? Kurt Russell as Santa Claus. This one, it's no Christmas classic, but it's a fun family movie. I enjoyed it for what it was. There are things that you're like, what is like, why? Like the fact that, I know it's Christmas Eve, but the streets of Chicago are completely empty. I'm like, is that because you didn't have the budget to pay extras?
Maybe.
But no, but Kurt Russell's Santa is pretty fun, and it's just kind of a cool little movie. Like I said, a good family movie. If you've got kids, it's a fun one to watch.
Well, what about the sequel, Two Christmas, Two Chronicle?
I haven't watched that yet, but my wife and one of my daughters did watch the sequel. And then I introduced my whole family, because my wife had not seen this one before, to 1989's Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Radical.
And, I mean, what do you say about it? It's excellent.
Yes. Be excellent to each other.
And party on, dudes.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm going to say about that. I mean, either you know that one or you don't. Go watch it. It's fun. My wife and my two daughters enjoyed it. So then, I watched a movie on Tubi from 1981 called Private Lessons. And this one, okay, this rich kid, he's got like this French maid as a housemaid. His family does,
Oh dear.
and then he's supposed to be a 15-year-old kid,
Oh dear.
and she's supposed to be like in her late 20s, maybe 30. And in real life, he was only 16 and she was like 29 or 30.
Oh no.
And this
Oh
is
no.
about Howard Hessman plays the limo driver, and he wants to get like blackmail money from the kid, and so the parents are gone for a while on a business trip, and the maid is supposed to seduce the kid, and then the kid falls in love with her, and then they have sex and everything, and I was like, this is icky. This is really icky. This is a 30-year-old woman and a supposed to be 15 and he's actually 16 in real life. A lot of makeout scenes and then there's sex scenes and it's just like, what did I just watch? And what I read on it was that they even filmed it in one, I know the two states were New Mexico and Arizona, and I don't remember which way it was, but one of the states they filmed in the majority of the film in, but then some scenes they had to film in the other state because the age of consent was 16 in that state.
Well, that's not creepy at all.
I was like, never watching this one again. What the crap?
That's so gross.
Don't watch that movie. It's icky. Amazon Prime, I watched a 2004 film called Dead Man's Shoes. And this is just kind of a basic revenge movie with Paddy Considine comes back from some war. It's in Ireland. He was in the army and he comes back and his brother, who was kind of not all there, dim-witted, played by Toby Kebbell, and I think his first film, he gets mixed up with some local yahoos that are into drugs and all that stuff, and they kind of tease him and all this stuff, and making him take drugs and making him have sex with a woman and all this stuff, and then they take him out and they put a rope around his neck and they say, you stay right here, blah, blah, blah. And it upset him so much that he hung himself. So like basically he killed himself but then Paddy Considine comes and takes care of them all. But first he comes after him and says, I'm going to kill all of you. And then he proceeds to do so.
Fair enough.
It was kind of an interesting. It was a good little, short little revenge flick. And then Thanksgiving weekend, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It was not streaming anywhere, so I ordered it on Blu-ray, and it came in that weekend. So I introduced my family to that one. The girls liked it. My wife had seen it before, but she said it was so long that she didn't remember any of it. Mm-hmm. So that one's another one. I don't have to say much. Steve Martin, John Candy.
They play off each other so well.
So amazing. There's so many scenes that just make me laugh, and then like the end is so heartwarming. It's a really great John Hughes flick.
Mm-hmm.
And basically the only Thanksgiving movie, right?
Well, there's other ones. There's always Thanksgiving.
There's always Thanksgiving, yes. Then on Black Friday, I ordered the 6-film series, Mission Impossible series on Blu-ray for like $20.
Nice.
And so I rewatched Mission Impossible Fallout. And speaking of kind of like the Fast and Furious series, this one just keeps getting better and better too. Only this one, I actually really love all of them except for number 2. Whereas Fast and Furious have a couple at the beginning that I'm like, they're okay. This one, I can watch all of them over and over again. Even number 2, because it's almost so ridiculous, it's kind of funny to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But Fallout was just amazing. So actually, when I got this box set, that was the first one I watched.
And Fallout is the most recent one, or is that a?
Yeah, it's the most recent one from 2018. That
okay.
Alec Baldwin, who came in on Rogue Nation, I think, and then it had Henry Cavill. This is the infamous mustache movie, I think.
It's a nice mustache.
Where he couldn't shave it for the reshoots of.
Man.
It's Mission Impossible Fallout's fault, and you know what? It was worth it because I love this movie.
Nice.
And one final movie I watched on HBO Max from 1992, I watched Juice. And this is this is one that I missed. You know, in the early '90s, there was a bunch of these kind of movies that came. Like there was like one big one every year. You know, you had Boys in the Hood one year, Juice, Menace to Society. These kind of like um, gangster type movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I missed this one. And this was one with Omar Epps and Tupac Shakur. And I think I read somewhere that this actually was released right before his first album. I didn't know he was acting before
Mm-hmm.
he was a singer, so or a rapper or whatever. But this was kind of a, you know, four friends, and one of them wants to be a DJ. He's Omar Epps. That's who the Omar Epps character was, and then you got Tupac Shakur, who wants to, you know, juice is what they call money and power. If you've got like a, you know, the money and the power, you've got a lot of juice, and so people like respect you more. So he wants that respect, so he wants to get into, you know, holding things up, using guns. He gets gun happy and all this stuff, and then murders happen, and, you know, the falling out of the friends and all this stuff. And kind of a, it was a really good movie. I would recommend this one. It kind of a showing again one of those, the corruption of living in these kind of areas
Mm-hmm.
and how you can fall into that trap because you need to gain that respect and all of that, you know. So, and the way to do that is through violence, and unfortunately. So, that's what I've been watching lately, and a lot of stuff on there I recommend. A couple of them I would steer very far from.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure.
I had to wash my eyes out with soap after a couple of them. But anyway,
What do you think you're gonna watch next?
um, I started watching a movie and I haven't finished it yet, so I'll talk about it next time. Even though it's a rewatch, Gladiator, because it's been a while since I've revisited that.
Nice.
I loved that movie back in college. We'll see if it holds up for me. What about you? What's on the docket?
I've got I got a copy from the library of Crank with Jason Statham.
That's a crazy movie.
I thought if I was gonna continue my goofy action movie series, I might as well go for the big ones.
Yeah, and that one's pretty. That is pretty extreme too. So
And what was really funny though is that I was looking at the special features, and one of the special features on it is is a different, I guess, audio track where they take out, or it's like the TV edit where they take out all the swear words.
I don't remember how much is in there. It's probably one of those that probably silences the movie.
I kind of want to watch the TV edit though, like the TV sound.
That would be great. Oh, but yeah, we'll talk about those movies on our next episode. But until then, you can find me on Twitter at AwesomeKM.
You can find me on Twitter at Noah_Saturn SATERN.
And we're on Instagram at We Don't Know What to Watch, where you can kind of get a sneak preview of what we'll be talking about, because I kind of post what I'm watching as I watch it. So anyway, comment below. Let us know what you've been watching. And if you got any recommendations on any streaming services, especially, that's what I watch a lot of my stuff on. And until next time, keep watching.
Oh yeah.